here? Should we still do the Pledge of Allegiance even though no one's
Yes,
here?
because they're on TV.
Oh,
Somebody might accuse us of being unpatriotic.
that's true. We have a delay.
Which means that we're live even though you can't see it.
We are live?
Yes.
Oh, now we're live. Okay, thank you. All right, we might as well start with the Pledge of Allegiance. You want to lead us, Lisa?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I guess nobody wanted to come, this is your last meeting, and nobody wanted to come see you. Imagine
To
that.
take pity on me.
I guess so, yeah. So, minutes, anybody take a look at the minutes for April 4th and April 18th? Any issues?
I have one comment.
Okay.
So on the April 4th minutes on page 12, I think the motion should be the same as it is on page 9. So under page 9, number 6. So the motion passed 4-0, Laterzo absent. Because right now it makes it look like it's 4-1. So that's the only change.
Okay. Anyone else? Not for me. I'll make a motion, entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, bills, we have any bills?
We do.
We do.
Over here.
In the front.
We're going to do the other minutes, or was that both minutes?
It was both minutes, yeah. Yeah, I multitask.
You're a wonder.
We're burning up precious LCTV time. I try to be efficient.
So there were two bills, peer review bill for 550 King Street and the legal ad for the Lowell Sun, which means this time the notice actually published.
Okay, good. While we have a minute, you want to talk about meetings moving forward since Jeff is going to be absent? What's,
I thought Maren issued a schedule. Thursday, June 16th would be our next meeting, Thursday, July 11th, avoiding presumably 4th of July.
Right.
Thursday, August 1st, sounds good. Thursday, September 12th, avoiding,
we're only worried about the June
Well,
meeting.
I don't know, I don't think it's bad to get this on the
No, that's fine, but are you okay with the,
What is it, 13th?
13th.
it says 6th or 13th, right?
Right.
Oh, I thought 6/13 was June 13th. Okay, I won't be back to 6, I don't think.
Okay. So then, do you want to do it for the 13th?
Does that work with your?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Anna, are you okay with the 13th?
Of June? Yeah.
Yeah. Delisa, do you care?
No.
All right. Bartlett, you all right with the 13th of June for our next meeting?
Yeah.
And I guess I can make myself available. Yeah, that's what that was about.
Okay, I'll get those meeting days set aside.
Okay.
And if-
When are you leaving? When are you going on vacation?
I gave you a long email with all my vacation
I know, I didn't
information.
read it, though.
And
I
It's
wanted
not
to-
something I prefer to
Oh, okay.
announce at a
Never
public
mind,
meeting.
all right. I'm afraid people are going to break into your office upstairs if you're not here, or downstairs? You're
Downstairs, yes.
All right, never mind. That means I have to read it. Okay,
Also, I'm happy to circle back with you on it.
all right. Member input on any projects going on? Anybody?
Well, 12 Robinson Road just had the barn taken down.
No, they saved the roof,
They lifted the roof off in one piece.
and they saved it. I don't know why.
But why?
I don't know.
I know the historic consultant is involved in this, so, I mean,
That's why they had saved it.
yeah.
What was so relevant about the roof?
Well, they were working towards saving the barn, or as much of it as they could, and got into the construction and found it was more damage than time damage than they thought it was. Rather than taking it down, they worked through various scenarios. One of them was to lift up as much as they could with the crane, set
Yeah,
that
that's a big
aside,
idea.
and then do the construction, and then replace
Right back up
what's
there.
possible.
So all the sides are just gone?
Oh, it's
The roof is sitting in the front yard
Yeah.
in one piece.
So that means nothing of the side
No,
walls
it's
were
Well,
u-
they have
reused?
saved, well, I don't want to get into it, but they saved the timbers, a few of which were, rotted at the bottom, which, is to be expected. I always wondered how it was going to work out, because to get it insulated and all that stuff, you wouldn't see these original barn timbers anyway. I don't know, I haven't talked to Joe about what is going on, but, anyway, there's someone who's overlooking the thing, which we didn't have in Trader Homestead,
Correct.
which we probably should have,
That's a process that's up to the Historic Commission.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
And-
Hager
and-
looks good with the new windows and everything. I think they've done
I think it looks good, I'm just saying, they more or less took out all the timbers on the inside
Yeah.
also,
Speaking of Hager, it looks like are people moving in?
Yes.
Into the
That looked
cottage
like
units. in the
Yeah,
back,
that's what it looked like,
That's
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, I saw a bunch of people there, yeah.
It seemed like a lot of cars in the,
550, we'll hear a little more about 550 King Street later on tonight. What else? Looks like they're moving right ahead with 12 Robert, with the northern bank. They've got it fenced off. It looks like they're,
well, it's been installed for a
Well,
while,
yeah,
but they put some banners on the
Yeah.
fence.
What do the banners say?
They're renderings, the renderings they showed us.
Oh, okay, oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Future home of Northern
Good,
Bank, et cetera.
Good.
So,
really, you had nothing better to do? You're gonna come here, bother us?
So I figured I might as well go to a couple anyway.
Anyway. All right. Anything else? Anybody got anything else? Anything going on with the Affordable Housing Trust, Anna?
So I believe the RFP went out for Tehadawon, is that correct, Maureen?
Correct.
Okay. And then we are looking to have Mr. Harvey take a look at the results of responses for the perk testing at Durkee. Is that correct?
No.
Yep.
And figuring out what's going on with the well.
Have you found it?
We found, we think we found the location. But it's, I mean, I was told it was a circle of stones in back of the barn. There's a roughly 15-foot diameter circle of stones. I don't think a dug well would be that big, so
No.
I don't know quite what it is and what we need to, or what needs to be done to make other.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, to build on that just a little bit, the recommendation is to find a contractor with a small bobcat to scrape across the top of that area and try to find the surface, top to the well. And if that's exposed, then the developer is on the hook to come back and officially close the well, cap the well.
so they were using a dug well for water?
No, they had.
No, they had
It
town
was
water.
abandoned.
It was abandoned.
And they
okay.
couldn't find it when they put the septic system
Okay.
in, because it can't be within so many feet of
Yeah.
the septic. So that was a drawback with the septic, because they didn't know.
Mhm.
They put it in anyway because it had been abandoned, but the Board of Health still was giving the Affordable Housing Trust trouble because it hadn't officially been abandoned, even though it wasn't even tied into the
So
house.
it's one of
anymore.
those loose ends that just needs to be
Yeah,
tied up.
I don't, I mean, I have at least 5 around my house that have been abandoned and who knows what time, and I don't see the big concern. They're usually filled with refuse and,
Well, the Board of Health was just because of the septic was too close to where they thought the well
Right.
might be, but it wasn't even being
It's a
used.
potential safety issue if it's not properly closed.
But it was totally disconnected. Well, there's a safety issue if people fall into it, I agree with that, but they can't even find it. Anyway. What else?
One thing about, I was just thinking about CPC. Last night, they voted to purchase the Webster land for its appraised value, so that will be in the town
What was its appraised value?
730.
730.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So which is significantly less
With an additional
than.
30,000 for soft costs as
Yeah.
part of the sale, up to 30,000.
And, yeah, because you were there, I wasn't, but I think you came out with, they just are going to pay for it. We have the money, rather than bonding it.
Right.
Right, there was a
'Cause
lot
it's
of discussion.
expensive. It's
about bonding.
expensive to finance things these days, so.
Right, and then the other half of that story is that the Websters have agreed to accept that amount for the sale of that property. So it's really a win-win.
It is
Yeah.
actually, yeah. The Open space, it's a number reasonable, and. we
Since
have
there's
the-
going to be more people potentially living in that neighborhood in the future.
I can't ride my bike there, so it doesn't matter to me. It's too wet. Anyway, anything else? Anna, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Charlotte, no? Delisa, do you want to, no? You don't want to talk, your last thing,
I
nothing?
don't have anything else.
Nothing?
You don't want to say what a good time you've had the years you've been here?
You don't want to give us a motivational speech? Okay.
You don't want us all to urge us to follow your footsteps?
Yeah, right.
Not possible.
Anything else?
Let's see, well, we could jump, under, if we jump forward to town meeting, which is Tuesday night, Article 13, there's a draft that I just handed out this evening of a message from the planning board to town meeting regarding the MBTA zoning Article 13.
If we're going to read this, we're going to hand it out, what are we going to do?
Well, I think it's a little overkill for a handout that more people have to read, given the amount of information that we've included in the town meeting warrant. We've got the full article, we've got the brief description, we've got the map, we've got the long Q&A that's been tailored to Littleton. And so I would suggest a message that we, post to the page and read at town meeting floor.
Somebody has to read it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, and it's up for any edits.
Okay.
First paragraph on the third line, so some residents at the special town meeting expressed concern that the parcel at 245 Foster Street, that the planning board recommended? Is it that the planning board recommended, or which? The sentence was just a little.
It's a very run-on sentence. I agree. The parcel at 245 Foster Street.
Which,
which-
comma,
Could
which
well,
the.
could we
planning-
just say that it was not supported? I mean, I don't like the word unsuitable. It is definitely suitable.
Okay.
Just saying, it was not, residents did not support that site,
Okay.
or
So-
something to
So
that
simplify it.
effect.
It's
Yeah.
not supported, yeah.
I don't think we should say after the rejection of the MBTA zoning articles. Can we clean it up?
Well, you could just say, after the November 1st, 2023 special town meeting, yeah, take out the after the rejection. And,
After it was not approved at the,
I wouldn't even say
would say-
that, just say,
okay.
yeah, just, we went forward with further. The other quibble in the third paragraph is that we did consider 295 and 305 in the original process. So technically, they're not new properties.
Yep, I can just take out.
Do we have to put the number of people that the attendees?
It's your letter, however you wish to
I don't know if we want to
wordsmith
put,
it.
What's your concern, Mark?
because there's 10,000 people in town, and we're talking about 175 people and 164. We listen to that few amount of people.
Oh, I see the,
I think we should say after input from concerned residents who attended the meetings, you know. I mean, it's.
What,
So
you're
you
afraid
put the-
people,
you-
you're afraid people, because there's so few, the
Yeah.
response rate was so
Well,
small, you're afraid
but
people will be
From Maurin's
concerned
point
and
of
feel,
view, it was a lot of people, you know.
not really, not out of
Well,
10,000.
not compared to the,
I mean, it's actually low response rate.
It's the lowest one. We had more people write it in than we did have actually come to it.
yeah, maybe we take that out too.
Just think of bad optics.
Short and sweet.
Okay. So I'll take out the numbers. Just say guidance from this workshop and survey.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And I kept stumbling in the fourth paragraph, has sought. It's a better way to say that.
And finally, in the fifth paragraph, the last, it's and avoid the risk of being sued. The risk implies that it's just a possibility. I would take that out and just say avoid being sued by the Commonwealth. I mean, they've made it clear that, you know, I think they've gone after Milton already.
The slide that you gave us, that what you made available about how much money we're getting and how much we're going to get, yeah, that one. That's an actual slide we're going to present?
That's a backup slide in case the question comes up.
I think it should be well, we'll do that in a couple of minutes. Okay.
So I guess I have a question overall. Given that the warrant article is, I think, 17 pages and there's the presentation, is this one page necessary, needed?
Well, and that'll be part of my question to you after we go through the hearing is, do you want the well, not the version, but the presentation on town meeting floor? Do you think it's necessary to go through that? And do you think, as part of that, we have the message?
I think we need to tell them how we got to where we are somehow. Maybe not as long as this, but just a recap of where we're at.
Well, this is,
Yeah,
less than a 2-minute read.
Can we put it on the on our page?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not on the well, we have a project page for this, but
The problem is there's 300 people that are going to vote this. That's what always comes to town meeting. That's probably what we're going to get. We tried to, maybe we just come up with something. We tried in November. It didn't pass for a number of reasons. We came back, we came up with a consensus that we think the residents of the town of Littleton will be able to get behind. It's imperative that we're compliant, an MBTA compliant community, and this is the steps we've taken to be compliant, and something like that. Something, maybe
Which is what I was trying to
Yeah.
get at
no,
here.
I think that, I mean, you know, we could argue endlessly about it, but I think this is okay with just removing
the little.
the detail
All right, we'll figure
about-
out before the end of the night who's reading it, but let's, all right, so
And I'm
let's,
happy to present it on
Okay.
the board's behalf if that's helpful.
all right, so,
I guess that's ultimately what I guess where I come out is, the content is fine, I agree with it, but I'm just saying, do we need to hand out another piece of paper? And-
Oh,
no, I don't
just
think so. I
assume
think we
not.
have to talk about it more.
Exactly, so. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to do, since Emily's not,
Well, time to open the public hearing, and then I'm happy to run through the presentation.
okay. So we have at 6:15, MBTA Community Zoning Bylaw amended King Street Common District and Littleton Station MBTA Communities Multifamily Zoning District, LSMFC. Littleton.
So I'll start by reading the public hearing notice. Public hearing, zoning bylaw amendment. The Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, at 6:15 PM in room 103 of the Shattuck Street Town Offices at 37 Shattuck Street to consider a zoning bylaw amendment. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to amend King Street Common Zoning District, the Village Common District, and add a Littleton Station MBTA Communities multifamily zoning district with a corresponding change to the zoning map. The proposed amendment is to amend King Street Common Zoning District, the Village Common District, and to add zoning bylaw and the zoning map to and add to the zoning bylaw and zoning map the Littleton Station MBTA Communities Multifamily Zoning District, LSMFD, to allow by right multifamily housing for purposes of addressing the requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 3A. The full text of the proposed amendment is on file with the town clerk and planning offices and can be viewed during their office hours or online at the town website. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed zoning amendments should appear at the time and place designated or provide written comment by May 1st if possible. Also, so this is where you can view the public hearing if you're not available in person. Also note that the text of the bylaw is now Article 13 in the town meeting warrant that's been mailed to every household.
Great. So Emily has done a brief, we've asked her for the Reader's Digest version of the presentation.
I think it was more or less accomplished.
Well, I know, it's,
Yeah.
we're gonna walk through it real quick right now. So we're not gonna talk about 550 King Street, other than the fact that we're getting a bonus of 600 units from 550 King Street. Otherwise, we would have had to put 750 down at the train station, correct?
That's correct.
So we'll just make people aware of that. 550 still is where it was when we approved it a year and a half ago. We just get to count the units now towards our MBTA requirements.
Okay, so as soon as Article 13 is announced by the moderator, plan is for Emily to present this PowerPoint, which is pared down from the prior presentations, goes over the overview of what MBTA...
Could we go back to my only comment, it's a graphics comment. You have the planning board meeting May 2nd, 2024, over the actual site that we're proposing. Could we move that down to this sort of grayed out? Because it may be useful when she's presenting to sort of say,
Right.
this is where
Can you take it right off? We
Yeah,
don't
why
need
you
do
could
we
take
need
it right off.
Take it
yeah.
right off.
Or, yeah, take it right off or move it or make it less
Right. Yep.
important.
Since, right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, thank you.
Okay, that's what it is. We
Yep.
all know what that is.
What it is and the purposes,
Mm-hmm.
and then what it is not.
Mhm.
And you've seen this slide at
Yep.
couple different presentations already. But this provides the opportunity for those that attend town meeting who've not been part of the process yet to get caught up to date.
Mm-hmm.
This is the public outreach that the planning board has conducted since the November special town meeting, including tonight's public hearing. And it's,
So really, from December 4th on, we really started up again with the joint meeting with the select board, December 4th, and we held 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 meetings to get us ready for town meeting. Even if we don't go into all of that.
Is there a reason that the select board vote to recommend is after the, I mean, because chronologically it belongs between April 18th and May 2nd.
probably because I asked her to highlight it, but I will ask her to put that back into
So,
the order.
okay, so it
Yeah.
good.
I don't think the date's important on that one.
Just take the date off and just say the select board and finance committee
Yep.
vote, yeah.
Or take,
Or
take the
put
date
it
out.
back in chronological order.
Okay, yep, I'm happy to update that slide.
Okay?
Okay, so this is the overall requirements for Littleton. Commuter rail community, 50 acres, 10 acres minimum within the station area, minimum contiguous district size. Littleton hasn't had to worry about that because King Street Common is over the 25-acre minimum. Still at the 750 unit minimum unit capacity, and still require zoning for 150 units within the station
Maybe you should
area.
highlight the deadline. if you're highlighting commuter rail,
The top, yep.
highlight the deadline, December
good.
31st, 2024.
And then, so this is the updated information, well, not updated, part of the presentation. Littleton has a two-part strategy that includes achieving MBTA compliant zoning in two areas of town. Part one is to highlight all the work of the community in the King Street Common District at 550 King Street, with 3 adjacent parcels in the Village Common District: 410 Great Road, which is known as the old Mill Building; 450 King Street, a small parcel in front of the Mill Building on King Street; and 584 King Street, we know best as the site of the former Yangtze River Restaurant. So by utilizing these properties as part of our district to qualify for MBTA community zoning requirements, then we get to rely on existing zoning in place for development near Littleton Common. So, and this is the detailed map that shows those areas.
Yeah, do we need that?
Can I just, I have a Post-it on this one, and it has to do with the 550 King Street and 584 King Street are the subject of an existing subdivision plan. What,
Yeah, that
what,
whole,
this subdivision was modeled with, I don't know what that is important for the
Okay.
town meeting.
Yep, exactly. Good point.
I mean, I know it's important to Emily, because this modeling is going to be the subject of another comment, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I suggest you highlight not being changed as well?
I don't think we should even address it.
Well, the question will come up, how are we getting to 750?
We're getting 600 from the common, that's it. Stop there.
I agree.
right,
Stop there.
I
Right.
agree.
I know,
Okay.
in your
Yeah, I'm.
legalistic point of view, which is, underlying everything, but for the town meeting, it's like, aren't we lucky? We have previously
Right.
approved all this stuff that the town, that the state is gonna let us,
Yeah.
we shouldn't use let us, the state has approved, because let sounds like they're giving us this big favor,
Right.
but
I think we just,
No, Littleton gets to count
Yeah, right.
all of the work that we've,
that
600
we,
units,
that we
all
have
the work that
previously
we've
approved,
done.
and
Yeah.
now we're only here to talk, to,
I feel like we're gonna lose people. It's like we're
Okay.
going so much into 550
yeah,
King
we don't,
Street,
all
and
we have
we
to
don't
do is,
really.
because of the rezoning of 550, 480, 448, or 410.
Because of the King Street Common District and the village, nearby parcels in the Village Common
We get
District,
to
we've already
count
done the
6.
hard work.
We get to
Yeah.
count 600 of the 750 units.
Yeah,
Something nice and easy like that, not how we did it, the hot dog approach,
yep,
okay?
yep, that's
All
good.
right,
And then, right, and so, and this kind of, actually, Littleton has a two-part strategy. This is part one. Nice picture.
All right.
do we need it?
Why?
I would,
Yeah.
I would say, yes, I would recommend we highlight that,
Could-
just this way.
I think the slide is important because people will want to know, where the parcels
Where
are.
those parcels are,
I think
yeah.
they already know.
Well, not, there'll be some town meeting attendees who haven't been part of this process at all. So this allows us to bring everybody up to,
All right.
I'd say, picture,
So maybe
picture say
keep
1,000 words.
that one, but not the previous slide.
I think
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
good
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
On this slide, I think you need to color the 584 and the 410 the same as 550, because we're talking about one district, and
Well,
it's the color.
I sort of agree with Bartlett. I don't like them
Being different, yeah.
Well,
being different. I mean, for the purposes of
Of
this
this, right.
calculation,
We
it's
have-
one
We have
thing.
one district that's going
For
to.
the actual legalistic and zoning thing, I understand the
Yeah, why don't you-
divisions.
I think
Yeah.
you're right. You
Yeah.
need to put them all the same color.
Okay, and the only thing I'll push back is it's not one district. We're not changing the zoning districts there. We're just using those parcels to, we'll be using those.
Yeah,
parcels.
to
get our
achieve a
600.
lower density, we're doing this to achieve a lower density on this proposed,
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. And then, these are the minor changes in the King Street Common and Village Common District. That's part of the 4, 5, 6, and 7.
All right, do we need
People-
the, would adjusting
need that?
affordability to meet EOHLC,
Who cares?
do we need the,
Right,
We
because
need
it's
that
just the
as far as
rounding
slide.
down.
And actually, that's a good question. That's pretty well covered in the description at the end that's printed in the warrant. So
you know,
if
I'd
it's
get
going
rid
too
of
much
that.
into the weeds, we can get rid of that
Yeah, I
one.
think yeah.
Okay, second part of the strategy. So if we jump right to this map, and then,
Lauren, real quick, going back to
on
the
that
map.
map, you need to color the 2 parcels that we're talking about.
Yep, that.
okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the other thing, and Emily or whoever's going to speak, for folks who have not been a part of it, I think it is important to use language that we all recognize. You know, these 2 properties are up at the corner of Taylor and Foster. So as you're leaving the train station, you turn right
On the other side of Route 2.
on the other side of Route 2. Right, so using language like that people.
Right near the interchange of Taylor Street and 495.
A scant mile from the train station. No, don't say that. Yeah, I think you do need to color it, definitely.
Yep.
And those parcels, as opposed to the other one, will bring up, well, there's a building there. And how do we, I mean, we explain that this is a zoning thing, it's not a project thing, and that there may never actually be housing there, but I don't know if we want to say that, but
Well, it gives some economic redevelopment potential to
okay,
underutilized old digital
that's a
equipment
good,
office
that's a good,
buildings.
yeah, that's a good answer.
I don't think we need to put this one in there. This starts getting confusing again, the one that's up there now. We know it's 295, 305 Foster Street. Do we need to put that in there?
I would think if we can somehow combine the map and this together into one, so it looks
Yeah, if you can put that
something
on,
kind of like this one.
yeah, if you can
Yeah.
put that on the map, that would be fine.
Yeah.
And then these 2 parcels provide the station area numbers. I don't like that. What you're basically saying is that because of King Street, we have managed to come up with these 2 properties that will be able to have, this 6 units. Well, here's the other thing. Is that I'm already being asked, well, how many units are going to go there?
150.
Is that the case? Because in Emily's last
Zoned
presentation,
for 181, right?
it was like higher than that. That's a sticking point. I mean, it seems silly, but that's a sticking point for some people. They're not saying they wouldn't support the proposal, but it's a
Right.
sticking point.
Yeah.
I don't know
And-
how we get around
I
it.
think we say a minimum of 150, but the potential build-out could be up as.
Or say something like,
If you're, we're trying to compare it to what the requirements are, because we're trying to compare it to what the requirements are. Requirements are a minimum of 150, it meets that. Do you want more information?
No.
I think in reality, what we're saying is that because of the size of the parcel, that's why
right.
it comes up to,
It could be
it
potentially.
could potentially be 181, but
Right.
it need not be.
Once
More than that.
development limitations and
Probably,
parking and
as long as it's a
sewer.
minimum of 150.
Correct.
I wonder what that red X is doing there. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, what this picture should say is 10 acres within the station area, 150 units more or less within the station area.
And the result is
And
the
those two
6.
graphics of the puzzle pieces, we don't need the 15 units per acre because that's the
Yeah, right.
average for the whole project, both sites.
And we don't need
And we
the
don't need the
cushion.
cushion because people aren't going to understand that.
Correct.
So take those out. Are you taking notes on this? Or you're going to remember all of this? Oh, it's on there. You're getting us. Verbatim? Oh, yeah, Cooper's real good about this, right? Oh, now here we go, another thing. No, we don't need this.
Okay.
All we need to know is we need 150 units out there. We don't need to know about King Street anymore. We've done that. We're beating a dead horse.
So the,
Well,
well,
I would suggest that if we have the one puzzle piece for King Street Common District on one slide, the two puzzle pieces for 295 and 305 on the other slide, and then once you put them together,
Yeah.
you comply.
Okay,
that's fine.
Right.
All right.
But I think in your mind, we're voting basically on these two
Top.
parcels. And everything else is, and then we have our planner to say, I am confident that this will achieve
Pass state.
past the
Pass
EOHLC,
Okay.
you know.
Well, take the cushion off the bottom. We don't want any ambiguity. Just take the cushion off.
Or confusion.
Okay, next.
And then this goes into detail about the zoning that's proposed at the 295 and 305. The pieces I think that are important there are the
biggest.
building height,
Yeah.
maximum building height, stories and feet, the setback from Foster Street, and the dwelling units per acre.
I think this minimum area is confusing.
Minimum lot area.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
You could, yeah.
a legalistic thing.
One of the things that we might want to consider is if we anticipate getting a lot of questions about this, maybe it gets put at the back of the slide deck, and then if it needs to be used, it can be pulled out.
Correct.
Otherwise, it just sits there.
No, I think everything else is good. I agree with Jeff. We get the minimum out of it. We don't want to confuse people. You gotta
And
remember-
what is the test?
Yeah, take that word out.
Well, these two headers, I'm not sure should be the headers. District name and test.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could say metric.
Okay, next.
I would,
I think you gotta leave this one,
allows the planning board to add design guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
which we will do at a later date. Yeah, I think you gotta leave this one.
Lauren, on the second bullet, if you do decide to remove the dimensional standards slide, you want to say based on the dimensional standards, not shown.
Okay,
Remove the
yeah.
word shown. Yeah. I still think that third bullet about the limits building size to more than 12 units per building allows, is just confusing.
It is
I
confusing.
remember
I-
Mr. Rambacher brought that up at the last meeting, and yeah.
Okay, and, which got me to thinking about how development might occur on one of these parcels. Either the property owner could decide to cut off one lot and do up to 6 units on this one lot, or they could cut off maybe half of the site for development and cluster more units together and count the density across the entire place, but that leaves, I didn't say that very well, but that allows for them to meet the open space requirements in the bylaw and to cluster the development together to make a compact neighborhood style development.
But the only problem you're gonna have with these two sites, you have an existing building.
Oh, yeah.
If the building stays there, let's just
That's not
say,
going to stay there.
well, if it does, let's say the second one. The guy who's come to all our meetings is really interested in this. Maybe he doesn't want to knock his building down. He just spent a fortune on a septic. He's got plenty of land there. Maybe he wants to try to develop half of it. So that has to stand on its own. So,
Yeah.
like you said, he has to break off a piece of it, and that piece has to be what stands.
And to me, it makes a lot of sense to use part of the overparked area, part of the
Oh, yeah,
existing
yeah.
parking lot.
For
You
parking,
know,
sure.
for,
maybe.
as part of the new development,
Yeah, because
because,
it was a digital parking lot that was way overbuilt. Yeah, I get that part, but that's why if you leave the 12 units per acre,
Per building.
per building, then he has to keep it small, which is what we want. We don't want,
Exactly.
we don't, that's why we have to keep it in there. Might be a little confusing, but that's why we have to.
Maybe the allows more than one building per lot is the confusing. I mean, I think people can understand the 12 units per building. The bylaw actually refers to the 1 acre minimum lot size, correct?
correct.
Why don't we just take a lot out? Why don't we just say 12 units per building
Yeah, that's what I mean.
and just take the rest of it out?
Because that's what people
Yeah.
should fix
We
in their
don't need to,
mind.
we don't need to confuse it. Just,
And 2.5
the buildings can't be
stories, yeah.
any bigger than 12 units. Okay. Okay.
And that was the end of that.
That's it? Wow, that's not bad.
Oh, so much better.
We're getting there, and, yeah, the comments, and then the other slide that we'll have for backup is the graphic on the
Grant.
grants
Yeah, you
that
have
we've
to
had and that could be expected over the next few years.
So my only question about that is, why aren't we getting $15 million in the next few years, like we did in the last?
We haven't applied for it. We got 4 million we applied for. We haven't applied for it yet.
Well, and actually, there is a proposal for the next round, well, actually, the Housing Works grant. Staff is working with the Lupoli team on a grant application for a $4 million Housing Works grant for public infrastructure to serve the 550 King Street site. So that would be an extension of the sewer service and roadway infrastructure within the site. So yeah, so that will be at least a $4 million request
If
this
we're-
current round,
If we're compliant.
yes.
Okay. All right, so that's a
That would
lot
go to
better.
Lupoli and not to the town.
Well,
Well,
it goes to the town.
sewer.
And then the town would have an agreement with the developer that it's only on the public infrastructure portion of it. So, yeah.
Okay.
But it is a cost sharing.
Well, that's to make up for the 7 million we had to give back, right? Is that the rationale is?
Well, none of this happens without the strong commitment between the town and the state and the developer to work together on this. Town sewer is being paid more than 60% by this development.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Without that, there'd be no sewer.
Right, and we'd still have the water quality issues at the common. No way to address those.
Nice. Do
So-
any other board have any questions about this?
No.
So we'll figure out, maybe we should talk about who wants to read this before Emily gets up.
I thought we weren't going to read it.
I thought we were going to read it.
Well, let's talk about
Well,
it.
we're not going to hand it out. We know
Okay.
that
So
much.
somebody has to do
Okay.
a preview before Emily gets up and does the Reader's Digest version.
Jeff, what about you?
What about you, Delisa? One last shot, yeah?
No, especially.
Oh, no, you'll still technically be a member.
No, I know that,
You'll
but Jeff,
still-
what about you?
I'll read it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you.
Thank you.
No, you have a lot of
I've been
credibility
dying
in
to do
town,
that.
and,
I've been dying to
You
be the
present
face
well.
of this.
As opposed to me.
no, I did not say that.
I think Jeff should read it.
Okay, then I'll have to pay more attention to exactly what.
Well,
But I think it can be called, I think you can,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
we'll
I
just,
think you can
just pinch
definitely.
it down a little bit.
Marin's gonna give us the.
I mean, I think the big picture is we're voting on sites for 150 units. Not the whole, I mean, anyway, that's the big
Yeah, we're
picture.
lucky we get to count the 600, otherwise it'd be 750.
And while some people might feel that's a lot, it's a lot less than 750.
Right, okay. All right, so we're good with that. We have everything pretty much covered, I would say.
Yep, so right now you're in the public hearing for the zoning bylaw amendment.
So you want me to ask the 5 people that showed up here if they have any questions?
That would be the proper thing to do.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns about our presentation that we just did? Guess not.
Yep.
We did a wonderful job. We pared it down to keep people awake and relevant.
Yep, and after we've been in the weeds for so many months, years on this, it's good to get your input on how to look big picture. So that's great.
Well, yeah, you guys have been looking at it, so you probably glazed over. You didn't even notice that should have been underlined or that, yeah. We're just kind of thinking of it as how people are going to look at it as best we can. All right, so I think we're good. So it's
One more. How will Emily deal with
questions.
the actual units allowed in her calculations? What if it comes up?
You mean the 6?
The
Number 6?
the actual, when she presented her modeling, and I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I know that there are some people who would be interested in the aspect of the modeling, but there's some people who just say, well, let's just have a number.
Right, well, she's run this proposal through the models and has numbers for
The model
each.
that the state will use to analyze it.
Right, that we have to run the model and present that information to the state. So she will have those numbers and be prepared to respond with those numbers if asked. The other thing I would add to that is in reviewing the letters back from the state back to communities who have asked about compliance for their districts, those districts that show more units, significantly more units than could be allowed, well, than they're required to have. The model shows more units than they're required to have. Those are tending to get the yes approval from HLC. Those that are cutting it really close are tending to get the no's. So we're by.
I know,
So I
but
think we're-
we have King Street Common with a huge excess. and-
With a nice big number
Yeah.
for, and you call it nice big number because.
Which does.
For the modeling
Okay,
purposes.
so that's the point of putting that in the model for, so here's my next question. How does that model, how does it expressed in the bylaw? Because
It's
how
not.
how would an applicant come before us and know how many,
The only thing the applicant's going to come and see is they can put 6 units.
6
there.
units per acre?
That's it.
Right, the applicant will have nothing to do with the compliance model.
Okay.
It's not part of the
and To
zoning.
me, that's the point of not talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But.
I mean,
but we'll
we have to
be
know,
prepared.
we have to know in the background that it's running, but
Right.
in terms of what we're doing at town meeting, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
So if anyone even asks about it, the reason that we ran the compliance and did everything is to go down from 15 units per acre down to 6 units. Down to 6 units per acre.
Well, we chose sites,
Well, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No matter what site it was
Yeah.
over there, if we put it somewhere else, it still would be 6 units.
Okay.
Everything we did at 550 brought the density down to 6 units per acre to get to 150, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's all we have to say, that we did the calculations, and rather than have to be, the difference between this bylaw and what was proposed in November is that since that time, the governor has weighed in, and we used the calculations from, we were allowed to manipulate.
Reduce the density.
Manipulate the numbers to
Yeah.
be able to reduce the density, otherwise it would be
Average
50.
the numbers
Right.
that allowed us to.
All right, I like
not
manipulated.
manipulate anything.
Right. And that's
No.
where I always appreciate Emily's ability to hear the questions and respond thoughtfully at public sessions. So she
Well,
will be there to help
the
respond.
other thing, I don't know if it should be in this statement from the planning board, but historically, Littleton has always complied or exceeded with state housing goals.
That's true.
We've exceeded the subsidized housing inventory for as long as I've paid attention to it. So, anyway, we have an ethic in the town.
Right.
of-
Littleton has been a housing choice community since that
Right.
program was initiated.
Right.
But which is one of the reasons it puts us in good stead for some of the state grants.
Okay. Anything else?
Was it here?
Was that Emily beeping in that she's still?
No, that was my husband as the cacciatore. gun.
Actually, you should tell Emily that we're done. She doesn't need to come by.
Yeah. So we should all sit together up in the front somewhere, I would think.
Yes, so there is a official planning board meeting posted for town meeting. Town clerk does that for many of the sitting boards. So yeah, you sit together in front.
So, I know the CPC posted meetings for the 7th and the 8th in case it went over.
Yep.
But we're relatively soon.
Well, it's posted for both, in
Okay.
case it runs over.
Do you want to give her the good news or the bad
Yeah.
news?
We're
Hi,
good.
Emily.
Good to see you all.
You want us to give you a quick overview of what we came up with?
I would be happy to hear it.
All right, let's,
Apologies to the board, but
All right.
for being late.
we'll give you the 5 minutes. It's only going to take us 5 minutes. We cut everything out.
Yes, the slideshow's going to end up even shorter.
All right.
Wow.
Do you want to do it real fast? We'll do it real fast for her. 8
Okay.
minutes. We have 8 minutes. We don't know what to do it.
There you
Okay, so
go.
we're going to get rid of this. Let's see how many of us remember what we talked about. We're going to get rid of the planning board logo that's on there, just to make it less confusing, and either put it on the top or somewhere else. But just
And because it's over
The-
the actual
properties.
properties that we're talking about.
Got it.
Okay,
This one was good.
this one was good.
That one was good. This one, take the date off, Select Board and Finance Committee vote to recommend. And actually, if the planning board votes again tonight to recommend,
Okay,
then,
well, I'll put them all on there, yep.
um,
And I think as far as that one goes, we're only going to say we got together with the selectmen in early December. We had 8 meetings on this. We all came to consensus that it was important to move forward with this, to keep it going. And 8 meetings, we can have them up there, but we don't have to go through them. We'll just put them up there. Or you'll just put them up there, because you're going to talk.
Understood.
Okay, all right,
uh,
yep. Oh, yeah, we're going to change the red. We're going to put the deadline in
Deadline.
red.
Okay.
so take this slide out,
Yep.
and just cover
Color-
that by introduction to this slide. So Littleton has a 2-part
Right.
approach. The first part is King Street
We're
Common.
going to color both
We're going to color the other sides.
other pieces. So
Yeah,
they
the
all-
same color.
We want to sort of take away all of the planning minutia.
And ambiguity of it.
Yeah.
These are the parcels. We're not going to reinvent the wheel there. Okay?
Take this one out.
Yeah.
Right.
So just in case.
Sorry, that was out or that was in?
Out.
That's all.
Okay.
Take this one out.
Yeah.
Questions about the number?
So the same thing, talk to the images rather than
Right.
the words.
Color this one.
Right, color the 2 parcels here, and combine it with this one, this slide, so it looks kind of more like
Like
this
that.
one.
Okay.
And we take out the bottom part about, next,
Next one.
Right,
Oh,
the
cushion.
15 units break or
Yeah.
the cushion, take those out.
yeah, 10 acres, 150 units within the area. Get the cushion thing out and the 15 units out.
Once you put it all together,
Yep.
take the cushion out.
Take the cushion out. Yep. That's me, that's my phone.
Oh, okay.
I have it on silent.
Okay, on this one, the dark blue banner at the top was confusing.
No, the district name and the test, get that out in the minimum areas, square footage. Get the 1 acre size out.
So, and were you guys good with all of the rest of the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
People are going to focus on that.
This one you were good with. Except for take out allows more than one building per lot. Its building sizes to no more than 12 units per building.
And the shown part, right, based on the, because you weren't showing the dimensional.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Bullet 2, based on the dimensional standards.
Well, that was the previous slide, the dimensional standards from the previous slide.
Right, but if we take out shown, then,
All right, that's fine. Yep, no problem.
well, okay, and then, so it brings me to the question, dimensional standards, setbacks are a dimensional standard? So if there's a way to make that sentence simpler,
I can make it simpler.
I've been listening to them.
And that's the end of it. And then the other thing, the only other one we'll have is the graph that shows the funds that we've gotten. We'll probably put that up there too if somebody asks about it. We've got $15.8 million pending right now, and another couple of million as long as we stay compliant.
Yep. And then Jeff had a few questions about, if questions come up about the modeling and how many units are allowed according to the model.
How we got to the 6, I guess, the best way.
So, at your last presentation,
Yeah.
you ran the model the way the EH whatever will do it, and you came up with a number of like 181 units for those two parcels.
Right.
So, how do we deal with that discrepancy between what the model shows and what, I'm struggling, people, it will be a question.
Right.
I had a question today, are you sure it's just the 150? I said, well, no, actually not. The model says it has to be, blah, blah, blah.
So the model is a function of the geographic inputs and the dimensional inputs. It calculates an estimate based on those inputs. We tried to get as close to 150 as possible without putting, super ridiculous numbers in. It's highly unlikely, based on anything that we've seen in work with other towns, that anybody's going to produce that exact number.
Right.
So it is, it is a mathematical construct that 177 cities and towns are using to prove their compliance. It is not the same thing as actual production.
Okay.
So
There
that's
could
how
be
I
less
think about
because of the demographics of it, the wetlands and everything else, but I think we
Exactly,
gotta-
every parcel is different. So the way I explained it recently to another community, I can certainly do it, is both zoning and the model treat land as empty, right? That there's nothing on it. In the case of the model, it essentially treats the land as a rectangle, right? It doesn't know that those parcels have weird dimensions. And you start with a rectangle. You lop off the excluded land, if there is any. You lop off the open space standard that was put in there. You lop off an amount for parking. You're left with a building footprint. You take that building footprint, you multiply it by the number of stories to get your volume. You divide that square footage by 1,000, and you get the units. Nobody has ever developed a parcel in that way, right? It's just not how you do it. You've got irregular lots there, you've got wetlands, you've got to figure out how the access works, you've got to think about the relationship of a building or buildings to each other. It's just, you don't shoehorn something into a rectangle. So it's a mathematical way of understanding the maximum possible unit capacity that is not going to be a built capacity.
Well, so does that mean we're safe in saying that what we'll get is 150 units or very close to that down there?
Or
You
less.
could get.
Well, could you get more?
Well, you can't get any more than the dimensions allow, right?
Okay.
So, it's not, the as of right has tripped up a lot of people. They think it means that somebody can just come in and build whatever they want, and that's not what as of right means. You have to get a building permit. The building commissioner or inspector in every town or city is going to look to make sure that the proposal meets the zoning.
Yeah.
So if they come in and say, I'd like, a 4-story building, well, you're not allowing 4 stories. It's not possible. So having said that, they can come up with something that meets the requirements. Somebody creative, maybe they could get to 181 units. I've been doing some stress testing to see what it looks like. I don't think so, but they might come in and say, we only want 75 units, or, 90 units. Just because you've got a capacity at that level doesn't mean somebody wants to build it. There's so many factors that come into play there. Yeah, so I would say, the way I'd say it is you needed a unit capacity of 150. You have an estimated unit capacity of 181. For compliance purposes, you're meeting the correct requirements. Who knows what a developer would want to come in and do, but they can't build more than your zoning allows.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I think the key thing is to distinguish the zoning and the compliance. They're two different things.
Theoretical compliance.
And the compliance is something the state will go through to assess whether this is a good faith effort. And it is, but it doesn't relate to the actual development proposal.
Yes, and that's a key piece, is that the state is going, so assuming town meeting passes this, the next step is that you submit the shape files for those two parcels, you submit the, and actually you'll have to show King Street and the Village
Right.
Common parcels as well. You submit the zoning for this. You also submit your existing entire zoning bylaws. And you submit the fully completed compliance model. And so, once those all go to HLC, and there's some other pieces in the application that you submit. So they're going to be looking at the compliance model. They're going to be looking at the geography based on the shapefile. They're going to be looking at your zoning ordinance and the zoning that you just passed. All of that is very different from what somebody
Will
would
build,
apply.
or
and
be able to build.
Exactly.
And it'll be based on each parcel, too. It might be
Based on each parcel, yeah. And the financial conditions under which they're building, the labor conditions under which they're building, the market demand under which they're building, there's a lot of factors that go into that.
Okay, great. So, Jeff will read a little statement to get you started, and then you'll get up and do your stuff, and then hopefully you'll answer whatever questions there are. If we have to get up and help out, we obviously will. That's it. So
I have 10 minutes.
What?
I have 10 minutes, that's the presentation limit.
Yeah, 10 minutes, yeah.
I mean, I like to be shorter, but.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I mean.
10 will be good.
We've sorted out the big issue, that's the site.
Mhm.
And that's the gist of the kernel of what we're voting.
Yeah, I think under 10 would be a breath of fresh air for town meeting.
All right, so we
I mean,
need to-
I could do a couple of hours, but I'm not sure it's happening, so.
So we need to vote this. We need to close the public hearing. Does anyone want to make a motion to close the public hearing? Go ahead, Delisa.
Lisa,
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the MBTA community zoning bylaw.
I'll move. Second.
Second.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve this and send it to town meeting floor.
I will second it.
Recommend.
I recommend. Didn't I say that?
Yeah.
I make a
The planning
motion
board recommend.
that the planning board recommend we send this to town meeting floor for a vote.
Second it.
I'll take a roll call for this one. Bartlett?
Aye.
Delisa?
Aye.
Jeff?
Hi.
Anna?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so we can put that on our little slide now, too.
Yep, and I'll prepare the official report to town meeting that reflects the planning board's vote. And actually, town moderator will expect that first. So I'll give you that sheet of paper, that cheat sheet as well.
Okay, great.
Easy.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, we have a, what do we have at 7 o'clock?
It's,
Continue public hearing, 550 King Street, 584 King Street, King Street Common.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Chris Raymond from TEC, here alongside my colleague Rick Plnbrd.
We're here as a continued public meeting from last month's meeting on April 4th, at which time we had presented a proposal for an amended special permit for the master plan at the 550 King Street Commons development. As you might remember, this project received a special permit master plan back in June of 2022. And at last month's meeting, we had presented 3 changes to that master plan since it's been approved. Just to run over those 3 changes, since the previous master plan was approved, we have incorporated the existing Yangtze River site. That was not purchased at the time. It was thought to be part of the master plan. Purchase has gone through, and now we're looking to incorporate that within the master plan. We've also incorporated a 150-room boutique hotel, and we've looking to increase the retail space by 45,000 square feet to enhance the east-west pedestrian corridor and create a much more visually appealing and pedestrian-friendly development at the front of the site and along King Street. At last month's public meeting, I know the board wanted a little bit more time to review the plans and the proposal, and we're happy to answer any questions and field any comments that you may have.
Actually, if you don't mind, I'll jump in. There had been some question back and forth about the number of deeply affordable units, and the developer's team confirmed that they're happy to stay with the same number as before, with the 40 units of deeply affordable senior units, the 30 to 60% AMI range, rather than bumping that down. So they're happy to keep with that, and the draft decision does reflect the 40 number.
So one of the things that we saw in there were 2 options, one that you had provided, Maren, and then a developer's option. And so based off of the information, it looks like there are now fewer 1-bedroom affordable units, but more 2-bedroom affordable units.
Correct, yep. Yeah, I think at last month's meeting, it was suggested that we try to balance the number of affordable units for 10% of each of the housing types. So we went back through the numbers and tried to, the math was a little tough to nail perfectly, but we tried to get as close to that 10% of each of the different 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units.
So I think in taking a look at what we know from town data, the 40 is much more palatable. Mm-hmm. And in fact, from a timing perspective, I would really have liked the information to be able to share it with the Affordable Housing Trust. But unfortunately, we won't be meeting till May 21st. So to the degree that we can review that with them, that would be terrific.
I hate to give you more homework, but I would like to see a breakdown of how the development of the affordable housing relates to the phasing. Because we don't want to be in a position where we want the affordables brought along at all phases.
That's a requirement.
That's a requirement.
That's a requirement. Could we have some representation of that?
Are you saying like in phase 1, how many
I
affordables
mean,
will there be?
especially I'm looking at the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem to me, I don't know, what's the theory? Should they be clustered together or spread throughout?
Well, wasn't the thought that the seniors were going to be in the retail, up above in the retail, correct, with the elevators and?
No.
I think
that's the high end.
That's gonna be the higher end ones, yeah. I think, sorry, I'm Rick Roberts from PEC. I think the thought was for the affordable senior housing that those ought to be clustered together, and the reason being, They're really a different unit design, you know, to make it so people can age in place. You just build the units differently than you would sort of your standard, you know, sort of unit.
Yeah.
So I think that they would get congregated together.
And then what phase, what building? I appreciate this presentation, and I appreciate the phasing presentation, but it sort of all works together, and, we're anxious to get some affordable housing.
Yeah, I'm scanning, I'm sorry, Jeff, I'm scanning, trying to look real quick, to see if that 10%, if there's something in the conditions that requires that, that we stay basically along that 10% number.
It is.
I think it's in here somewhere, but I'm just trying to find it.
If I remember correctly. So if you build 100 units, 10 of them have to be affordable.
That's right, yeah, that's right. And we need to
As the
stay,
phases go, no
we
matter
need to
what
stay
the
with there.
phase is.
The hard question to answer, and I don't know, even if we went home and did homework, if we'd be able to answer it, is, when are those 40 deeply affordable senior housing units coming online in relation to the phasing? Because you may know this, but there's some consideration that perhaps we try to do that off-site.
Remember, this was this building.
So
So if
it's
we
just a question, is this going to be phase 1 or phase 3?
The senior housing
Yeah.
component, more likely phase 3, I would say.
That's the answer. How do we feel about that?
I don't think it's a big deal, because it was an add-on after the fact for this building. That was,
Yeah, and if I'm sorry, and if we end up with an off-site alternative, it could be in between them. It could be between phase 1 and phase 3.
Oh, when you say off-site, okay. I
Here,
get you. Yeah.
here, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking you're constructing them off-site in a warehouse.
Maybe, maybe.
I mean, as long as there's 10% in phase
Right.
1.
Right.
so this-
Well, could you bring this up to the front? I mean, I know this won't, I just think it's an issue. I think that it's an issue, that's all.
Yeah, I think that maybe I can offer this too, is, obviously each building that we do would come back in front of you guys for site plan review. At the site plan review, it's typical that you have us actually label on the floor plans which ones are affordable, so you can not only add them up, but you can look at where they are in the building, make sure that we're sticking to within the numbers, with specific unit numbers attached to it.
So I think from my perspective, because there will be 10% affordable units, so taking phase 1 as an example, and phase 1 I think has, 280?
Yeah.
So that would mean 28 affordable units.
That's right.
And that you would then do those proportionately to that plan. So seniors would still have an opportunity to vie for those.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And so what I guess I wanted to share, going back a little bit, going back to what I would like to share with the Affordable Housing Trust is just the option of continuing to keep the path of 40 units being for seniors and the rest
Now,
proportional.
he's suggesting to congregate those 40 units.
Right, and that could be another question we could
And that-
talk about with the Affordable Housing Trust.
And I think that makes a certain amount of sense, that for that particular group. For the other groups, I think you're required to separate them and have them sort of not
Intermingle.
adjacent and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
intermingle, and, they'd be on different floors and different wings of the building and the like, yeah.
I have a question about the affordable units. My reading of my understanding of the station area rules are that that we can't have age restrictions in that complex. And I would interpret that as meaning that all 40 of the set-aside senior units would have to be at the King Street site. And as a member of the Housing Trust, I would like to see them built yesterday.
So,
I don't know where to go from there, but.
Yeah, I wonder, sorry.
So if I'll poke at that just for a minute. The MBTA communities requirements allows for 10% affordable
Affordable,
units
right.
and no age restriction. However, if during the permitting process, if the planning board negotiates with the developer for
Age restriction.
more for an age restriction in this example, then that's perfectly allowable.
In the same way, like a
But-
senior.
Well, plus, we have 600 units designated for the MBTA, right? I mean, can we just say those other 200 can have age restrictions? Or
It doesn't
work that
make
way?
any difference.
It doesn't make it, we can do it.
Yeah.
They just don't want to hamstring it by saying that we,
The zoning
Oh,
can't
I see.
require it.
Yeah.
Okay, zoning
So,
can't require it, but.
if we make it more restrictive,
Right.
it's okay.
Yeah,
They don't
we can
want
offer it,
Yeah.
or you can require it of us, but it can't be required.
Yeah.
But let me just say, as a personal opinion, that I would prefer to have all 80 affordable units that are part of the project at King Street to be built at the King Street site. I don't want to see off-site units.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Well, Bartlett, the reason we got to the 40 units was when we talked about this years ago, it was about this particular building.
Right.
About this being senior
Right,
housing.
right.
And the Poli company agreed that it could
Right,
be
but
worked
right
out.
now, this building is not in play.
It's not right now, but it may be in the future, and that's where the 35 to 40 units would come into play.
Yeah,
So they would all be here.
One reason we wanted to talk about the off-site possibility was, you might remember this came up, was about construction costs. And the cost to develop a new site, including, bringing utilities, site driveways, roadways, the building, the shell itself,
Yeah.
et cetera. Obviously, it's much more expensive to build a new building than it is to renovate an existing one, because a lot of that base infrastructure already exists, so to speak. And so that was one of the aspects of how we were going to get to those kind of affordable levels, because, as you know, the 30 to 60% AMI, I'm not sure, have you guys ever seen a project propose that?
No, not that.
We've done 60.
60.
Yeah,
But-
but it was big pushback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're hard to build.
Yeah, okay.
And so one mitigating factor that helped with that would be if we could locate it, like say an existing building that had, and not that it is this building, but a parking lot that already exists, water lines that already come into the site, driveways, curbing, sidewalks, in the
sewer.
shell.
I understand. I
Yeah, sewer,
understand that.
yeah.
But-
So, I just say, they may very well end up at the site because we don't have a candidate site. But that was one reason we wanted to keep open the option for
Right,
the
all right, well, if
outside.
this building gets back into play, then
That's
I
right.
might change my mind, but I just wanted to get my
Yeah.
opinion out right now.
And then I was going to offer to, I participated in one of these in the past, but if you want us to attend any of these discussions, we're happy to do it, of course.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, thank you.
My other comment was, well, first, just before we're leaving this, I think the board really would like you to think clearly about the congregating the senior housing together. Anyway, so beyond that. So we had some concern about not the existence of the hotel, but the massing of the hotel. And I noticed that you took off the 4-story designation. What does that mean?
So last meeting, we talked a little bit about trying to understand, there was a discussion about the size of the hotel, and we're trying to understand, is it the unit count that's the issue?
No.
Or is it the massing related to telehouse, and the surrounding other buildings? And so what we thought we would do is, rather than write in there 4-story, 3-story, 5-story, whatever it may be represented in those images, just up to 150 rooms in the hotel. And then what that does is it leaves it to, when that site plan comes forward with real architecture, because we're, like we said before, these renderings that we're showing you are representations.
Sure.
But when the buildings are further along in the design and you can see the real architecture, then, it's required to comply with form-based code and meet your expectations. And so we thought the best way to reflect that now was just to remove the height designation altogether and just say, so it may very well be that that building is 3 stories, or maybe 3 stories in the front, or maybe 2 stories in the very front and 4 way in the back, or something like that.
Okay.
Something that complies with the form-based code, but we didn't want to get hung up on the height of it now because we're just showing a representation anyway.
Well, and I think that you removing it is the right thing, because then we're not
Held to anything either.
held to anything.
That's right.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
What else? Any other questions? I think that was the biggest, really the biggest thing. I think we all like the enhanced area that you showed us for the retail. Obviously, putting Yangtze in this makes all the sense in the world. That it even talks about what's going on with Yangtze, what's going on with Yangtze.
So do we have opportunities to ask more questions at this point?
Go ahead. Sure.
So, in terms of, let's see, where is it? So in the peer review, the very first question was about needing a new Form 1, and I think we did get a new Form 1. And so I have a request, and that is that on that Form 1, you all checked off the marijuana. And
It is in that
It's in
district.
it
and
is
that's-
in the district. So
Yeah.
it's not saying that you are applying
No.
for anything
Correct.
related to that
Yeah.
Just that the zone.
bylaw.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, if
correct.
you,
Okay.
yeah, if you go
Yeah.
on the town's GIS system and just click
Yeah.
through the layers of the different overlay districts, we just check the ones that apply to this site, and we are within that district.
But there's no planned use?
No, yes.
Okay.
Right, page 2 is the, what this site is applying for. Page 1 is the districts that it happens to be in.
And I just wanted to make sure that I heard it directly from you guys, that
Yep.
there is no plan to do anything like that. Okay. All right, thank you.
Would not be compatible with what we're trying to accomplish here.
I was going to say, what is your Poli's experience with, do they,
None that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I know a lot of his, I don't know all of his business, but I know a lot of it. I'm not aware of any relation.
Thank you very much for answering that question. So then, let's see, another question I had, and I appreciate that you answered most of them before. So I know that from the renderings, some of the pear trees appear to still be intact. Is that correct?
Those are probably just new plantings.
New plantings? So you're going to have to get rid of all of them, even if they aren't impacted?
It may not look like they're impacted, but there's grading, there's topography changes to make sure that that area can be flat and level. You know how when you visit the site today, if you go especially to where those are, there's sort of a crest to the road and then it dives down quick. That whole area to make it all accessible, I think we called it the 2 axes, but like there's the north-south green space that carries up into the residential all the way down through the new green space to King Street and the boulevard. We want that area to be really accessible, walkable, easy for people to navigate, and in doing so, we changed the grading quite a bit in that area.
Okay. And I'm only bringing it up because when the Tuttle House first was in play a couple of years ago, we wanted to make sure that that stayed intact, so.
so can I just give a little historical?
Sure.
So at the time IBM was built, that farm had what was considered the oldest continuous pear orchard in the United States. However, when IBM came in, all those trees, because of grading, were ripped out, and they planted calorie pears, which are not really pear trees. They don't fruit, you guys probably don't even, spec them anymore. So,
It's
I
not-
just keep it in mind.
They're not the original pear trees.
They're not the original pear trees, they're not even pear trees.
There's no historical value.
And I, that bothers me, but that's water under the bridge. But keep that in mind when you're landscaping,
Yeah,
Those are pear
that
trees.
there's, to call back
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
that situation.
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
They might not be the same ones, but if there can be something
Yeah.
that
Sure.
is representative of it, that would be good. Okay, so then the second question I have is, the stones that are there, I mean, people have kind of become accustomed to the fact that there's a stone wall going across there. In the renderings, I didn't see any of the stones being placed. Again, are you planning to put them back in any particular place?
And the ones that are sort of within, in the area around the Tuttle House?
Around the Tuttle House, and then you've got that
There's-
whole wall of stones
Along
on King Street.
yeah.
There was, back to before IBM, there was a barn that there were the 2 stone walls with the big maples, and there was a barn there that they moved, that they got rid of. And those are the stones that Anna is talking about. So, when I look at your plan, it seems like possibly the left side one corresponds with your, I don't know.
Yeah.
Once again, an invitation,
Yeah.
there's some interesting stone.
Yeah.
It's, it's been there for a long time.
Yeah, I think, to answer, so the ones along King Street, certainly I would suggest that we keep them. I would just want to look at the width of our sidewalk to see if we're making the sidewalk much wider than it is today.
I'm not sure the ones along Kings, they're farmers' walls. The ones
The ones that are in like the.
Yeah, they're the
almost like-
boulder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I'm
boulder
not
ones,
sure
yeah.
those are original, but whatever.
I have a picture if you we want.
Okay.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
actually, if you go to, I think it's slide like 7.
So which one am I looking for?
In the slide deck that I had sent over. In your email?
What did you send it?
No?
Was it today or before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see a
She's been
slide
busy
deck
on
today.
that. Yeah, she's been busy.
Shoot. Never mind.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
Okay, just take this in.
yeah. I think.
That's a good comment, because you're right. I mean, those particular, the two walls we're talking about are not the so-called farmers' walls. They have some big pieces of granite and, they're more distinctive,
Yeah, I think we should find a way to incorporate those into the public plaza probably.
even if it's moving the,
Yeah,
exactly.
repurposing them
Yeah,
to
yeah.
whatever use you can.
Yeah.
There's also the tree in front of Yangtze. Have you looked at that? Is there a way
Yeah,
to
that's
keep it?
good.
I could say, yeah. The tree stays.
Can we get a giant ribbon and put it around there? It
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
it's not going anywhere.
Well, but that's an elm, isn't it, or not?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
it might be going anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might.
Beetles.
We'll
I
say
had a
that
big
and then
huge
it'll
elm that
be
died
next
last
day.
year, so.
Any other questions or concerns?
The only thing is, if there are, that condition 49A and 95A are agreed by the applicant to be put into any final decision. And I have a question. So when did you all get the decision to us?
This version,
This version?
Yeah.
It was
Last night?
yesterday or, yeah, yep.
So I have not had an opportunity to take a look at it, so
Yep.
if there's any brush to it, I'm afraid I won't be able to vote on that tonight.
So I did have the opportunity, just to put a plug in, I did have the opportunity to read through it. Again, it's very well written and responsive to the issues that arose at the first iteration of the plan and this one as well. So it does include a lot of the issues that came up, and so I hope you're.
So we have a bit of an issue. This is Delisa's last night. So we could vote it subject to the conditions. Because we all agree with the concept, we just need to iron out all the conditions. So we could close the hearing, vote it subject to the conditions, working out the conditions of approval. I'm only thinking about it, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's so similar to the last decision. Really, the changes are to incorporate the three things that Chris mentioned, so the Yangtze River site, the additional retail square footage in the hotel, and then obviously the updated table, which we talked about with the units, just to kind of rebalance the unit mix. Yeah, but probably 90% or more is exactly how it was before. So I feel like that's okay with us, Mark, because, Mr. Chair, because I just feel like there's probably not going to be much comment that comes from that. So I think the decision that you have is substantially similar to what it will with.
Is the board okay with doing that? Close it, vote it, and then subject to the conditions of approval. We're all pretty much good with the concepts, right? Jeff, are you okay with that?
I am. I wasn't until you mentioned the turnover aspect of it. My concern is, as a planning board, we're dealing with the MBTA communities. It's tough to get headspace for anything else. But since this is, I would be okay with it.
Anna, are you okay with that?
What are the conditions that you were concerned about, Anna?
I just always like to review the decisions before we vote on it, so
Well,
that's,
We're closing it, we're voting it, and we're
And-
voting it subject to the conditions of approval.
And then, so what process would you like to go through to confirm the conditions?
Well, you sussed out most of it. We've already gone through most of it. We haven't really come up with any.
Well, I can't even find the conditions that you referred to, like 49.
okay.
So it's
Kind of my point.
Right, the decision is set up in the same format as it was 2 years ago, with findings in the text of the document, and Exhibit A at the end has the conditions.
So the condition, it just goes to page 14, item 25. Are we missing a page?
Conditions, I have conditions.
We definitely have conditions, but they,
25, last one.
last one, okay.
Yeah, just.
I'm just referring to
Page, yeah.
Anna's comment, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so are those two in there? Again, I haven't even had a chance to look at anything, so are those conditions that the applicant agreed to in the decision?
Do you remember
And then-
what
Which
the
two?
one?
It was 49A,
Do you remember what it was regarding, like the?
I'll have to pull it up.
The previous decision had only 25 conditions.
Considering the size of the project, that's pretty good.
They're long conditions, though.
Condition 49 and 95A, so, let's see if I can find it.
Because I don't think we've ever had any sub-conditions like A now. It had to be, could it be 8? So I'm looking at 8. 8 is a condition that has A, B, C, D, E, F.
Let's see, I found it. So 49A, there are no curb cuts, stormwater, BMPs, and drainage system to accommodate any of the other sites. What are future plans?
Oh.
And then you said we recommend, Green said we recommend that this be made a condition of approval, that the
Subdivision.
lots
This
will
is
have
subdivision.
on-site stormwater management separate from the roadway infrastructure.
Yes, I'm sorry. So that's a separate approval, that's a definitive subdivision approval, which is different than the master plan.
Oh, that was the old
Yeah,
one.
that was for the road, that's for the roadway.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, I was wondering why I couldn't
Yeah.
find it. and-
I was like, I'm flipping like crazy. over
We
here.
already approved that one, never mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we have 25 of them here. It's basically the same as what we had
Thank you.
before. I'm trying to see if we can vote this, subject to everybody agreeing to the conditions for next meeting, so that Lisa can vote it and we can move forward. We all good with that? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing then, subject to conditions of approval. That's it.
But what does that mean, subject to conditions of approval? So-
We've already discussed everything that goes on with this. All we're dealing with now is the conditions of approval, the 25
So,
conditions of approval.
for example, we discussed the trees, and we discussed the stones and all that, so,
But that's more of a site plan review.
Yeah, it's site plan, it's not
Okay.
conditions of
Yeah.
approval.
so,
But the main thing is that they have the original 40 units for senior, and, that's spelled out in the.
so we're not going to have the Affordable Housing Trust provide input to that then?
It's really not your purview to that.
No, but I'm just saying to be able to provide
Well,
input.
since they have basically agreed to what they originally agreed to.
No, they haven't changed it. It's 10% affordable, it's the
I
same.
mean, I would agree with you if
Yeah.
they'd gone down in number.
They're keeping it
We're
exactly.
getting our 40 seniors.
We're getting you 10% affordable. Yeah, you're getting everything that was proposed originally, nothing's
And so-
changed.
So what we're approving is the addition of the hotel and the additional shopping space.
Correct. Right.
Which,
If they scale parts of the hotel back so it works with the total,
That's right.
we're good.
Then we're all good, yeah. We think it looks big, too.
I would just like us to get to a point, at some point soon, so that our staff works with applicants so that we can get our decisions in a more timely
That
manner.
was- That's our fault.
That's my fault,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's our fault.
But they wrote the whole decision, basically, and handed it to Maren, all done. And Maren's looked at it, and Maren's relatively comfortable with it. All we're talking about are the decisions, draft decisions, so that we close the public hearing, we vote that, and we keep the draft decisions open, and we make a final determination without Delisa on our next meeting. That's what I'm proposing. Okay? So someone has to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I thought we did. Oh, I moved to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
With conditions, the aye.
Yeah, yes. So now we will vote this, subject to the conditions being finalized at our next meeting, without Delisa's input.
Or
fault, whenever.
Or maybe not even, it's just, okay, finalized is fine. I mean, there may be no changes.
Right.
So,
We will vote this, and then we will vote the conditions at a later date. We're all good with that?
I don't, that language, I mean, we are going to be voting on these conditions, but we reserve the right to,
Change or modify them
yes.
before we vote on them. We're voting on the proposal, the presentation. These are the conditions that go with it, and we'll vote those at a later date.
Hannah,
Right.
Can you support that?
I'll just abstain. I'm
Okay.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so entertain a motion to approve the special permit, the modified special permit that includes the Yangtze River parcel, the boutique hotel being added in there, and the, how many square,
45,000 square feet.
45,000 square feet of
Increase.
retail, increase in retail as presented to us, subject to the conditions being approved at a later date, ratified and approved at a later date. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of that, I'll do it by roll call. Bartlett?
Aye.
Delisa?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I'm an aye, and you're going to abstain.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
So,
Thank you very much.
before you go, Rick, I just want to say that I was really pleased with how this developed. I do think you sort of ran out of gas in Phase 6, but, which is the Yangtze River. But,
It's Phase 6.
but the idea of increasing the retail, I think, is more conducive to a successful project.
We feel the same way. It's like one of those things where if you don't have the critical mass,
Yes?
it suffers.
You want people to.
You want people there. And we think like with the plaza anchoring at the one side, feeding into that, it just has such huge potential. So we're excited about it too.
And your vision, you guys have actually done a very good job with what you're proposing out there as far as the vision goes.
Thank
When you getting started
We stole
again?
most of it from you guys, so.
When's Phase 1? And any update on the commercial space?
Actually, on the existing IBM building, yes. So you might notice lights on when you go by.
Mhm.
Actually, we have.
Yes.
Someone I was with said,
So,
"Oh, the lights on."
what's going on?
So there's a temporary tenant in there on the third floor, and there's it's in the works to make them a permanent tenant. And I think maybe we can take it more of a building too, for that, we call it Building A, but if you're looking at it from King Street, the one on the left.
Are you allowed to say who it is?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Gotta ask.
it's why we had a slight change, if you look at the phasing, we had a slight change to what we thought would be Phase 1 from 2 years ago. We think we told you the one on the top left would probably be Phase
Right.
1.
Right.
And now it's the one closer, and that's because we think that it's going to be important to build that garage because of that promising news with the commercial
Okay.
tenant. And then that allows it to kind of build away from them. So
Good.
it's good, yeah. Yeah, it's like, I think we talked about this, but the more things become concrete and real, the more interest it draws. It's hard for people to commit to something that's so far away and so distant with so many variables in the way in. So we're there now. People are excited.
Congrats.
Thank you. No, congrats to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
You guys.
Okay. We're running a touch late, but 7:30, continue public hearing, 95 Taylor Street. New subdivision, stormwater permit, Strawberry Farm, 3 lot subdivision.
And we do have a representative from Green here to
Thank you.
go over the engineering details. If I recall, you wanted to review the waivers requested. One of the things you wanted to review was the waivers requested in the engineering.
Okay. Where do you want to start? Oh, it's up to me?
There you go.
Well, I guess last we left it, we were talking, the first waiver was the building of the roadway. So one of the concerns was to show us that you could get the roadway in with the drainage outside of the roadway.
Correct.
Have you had a chance to design that for us?
Mark Gallagher from Seal Harbor Development. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the past month, we've been working with Green International. We've also been working with the fire department, the water department, public, Littleton Light, and we provided Maren, I believe it was the beginning of this week, with a plan that relocated or showed the relocation of the basins outside of the right-of-way. The right-of-way requirement in the town of Littleton is 40 feet, and the basins were originally, or are proposed to be at the front of lot number 1. Several reasons for that, all good engineering practices, but you had asked if there was the ability to locate them outside of the right-of-way, and this was one of the concepts we looked at early on, but we decided against it because it was going to require more tree clearing, and it was going to require us being very close to the natural resources, which we were trying to stay far, far away from. Also with the basin behind the house, you know, if you do want to do inspections coming in off of the road, I know there was some concern that some basins have been failing in town. This is easy to see and monitor should you ever decide to, whether for maintenance and upkeep or if it was for other reasons. You know, it's right adjacent to the road in the front, and it makes, I think, you know, from an engineering perspective, a better location. However, having said that, we did look at this as a conceptual location originally, and we worked away from it, but you had asked for us to indicate or show that we can have it. All of the entire site is sand and gravel. So, I mean, it could literally go anywhere on the site. It's the absorption rate is so strong, and the materials beneath the loom are so strong that it wouldn't really matter where it went. It would be successful anywhere on the property.
Do you agree with that?
I always like confirmatory test bits wherever you're going to have a infiltration system. So, based off the test bits that they do have, it does seem like it is good soils. So, but you know, wherever they do put it, I would like to see at least the test bit in that location, which I think they do in the locations that they do have the infiltration systems right now. I know before they were by the right of way, now they're in the back, but I know that there's some test bits in the back too. So, so yes, the answer is yes. They do have good soils in either location for infiltration.
Okay, because the reason that I had them go through the exercise was to show that if we do waive the roadway, that we're not waiving the roadway so they can put the structures in the roadway, because we don't normally allow that. It has to, the structures have to be outside of the roadway. So the fact that we're waiving the roadway, before we waived it, want to make sure that they can fit in. And you concur with Mr. Gallagher that the soils out there are such that there's a strong possibility that the way they propose it would work.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Good. That's
The 36 test pits that we did, we went down 16 feet on every test pit, no groundwater. Every single location was 2 minutes an inch perk.
okay. Well, that brought up another interesting. You're talking about us going out and looking at the locations of the drainage. That's going to be, it's private.
No, I completely understand, but when we went in front of the CONSCOM, there was some concern and conjecture that at another location they had failed, and they were in a location that they could not see the upkeep and maintenance, and they had a homeowners association as well. So, you know, I think in the front makes the most amount of engineering sense, also, you know, in terms of being away from the natural resources as far as we could, which was one of the promises we made to you as a board, you know, early last summer.
Okay, so, all right, so let's go over the rest of the waivers. Site plan and profiles for every street shall be in a separate plan. Vertical references, cross-sections cut on 50 feet. Because the proposed roadway is relatively short and in a uniform road width proposal, one cross-section is provided.
Yeah, it's just how it's supposed to be displayed. It's not a big deal. The way that they did it is fine with us.
Okay.
We follow what they're doing.
All right. The travelway exceeds the curbing shall be specified in figures 1, 2, 3 in the following. Lane 22 foot, proposed road is 20 feet wide, no curbing or sidewalk is proposed.
So they have a reduced pavement width of 20 instead of 22. That's okay with us as long as it's okay with the fire department. I think that's kind of the biggest concern, is as long as the fire department's okay with getting in and out of there, then it should be fine.
Where are we with, we sent this out, have we gotten anything back from the fire department?
May I provide you something? All of you?
What?
Can I provide you with?
Sure.
Okay. Things not quite that fast.
Did you get a truck out there? Did they do the testing and test?
Thank you. I counted 10, I hope I was right. I sent it to the trunk.
All right, thank you.
So we usually get a rendition that shows the radius for the fire truck to turn around in?
Correct. So we agreed with the fire department, which was part of, I think, the discussion the last time we were here a month ago. We met with them at the beginning of this week. They required that the lane be 20 feet. They had written back, and Maren had posted some concerns that they had, so that's why we went and met with them. We went out on Monday night, a week ago, Monday night, between 10 and 11 o'clock. We were requested to test the fire hydrant that's at the front of the road to make sure that we had enough pressure for fire protection. We've provided that to the town. The fire department has a copy of that. They have found that acceptable. There was no need to have a additional fire hydrant on Strawberry Farm Road. They were concerned about the distance back from the turnaround, that they would not be able to get their trucks close to each of the buildings for fire safety. So we have agreed, and it's shown on this plan, that we would expand the width of the driveways, the two longest driveways on 2 and 3, 100 feet into the property. They want to be within 50 feet with their hook and ladder. And then we changed the vector on, I think it's lot 3, so that when they come out, they can come directly out into the turnaround and then turn and go out should they need to give fire protection. We're going to go with the same pavement width that we had proposed originally, and we're going to go with pervious pavers, grass pavers, that they found acceptable to enhance the width of the road to 20 feet for each of those two driveways for fire protection.
Okay, well, we still need a drawing from them that shows that they can turn around.
No, that we gave them, that they've already approved. Previously, they approved the drawing for the turnaround. That's already been done. What we worked on with them this week was no need for the hydrant, and we also worked on the 20-foot two driveways.
Do we have a letter from them that the turnaround is acceptable? All right.
I believe so.
Okay. I just want to make sure we have it, that's all.
For the fire turnaround.
Yeah, for the fire turnaround.
That was behind us, yes, sir.
Yeah, because usually we get a plan that shows the truck, the little diagram of the truck, and we don't have that. I just want to make sure.
curious, just for the future, of this pervious pavement within 50 feet of the house. It's a new one. No
I think it would
comment.
be just easier for us to say that we've agreed
Yeah.
and
okay.
compromised,
I
because.
mean, there are some long-ass driveways in town.
We
And
were in
if
the
that
woods.
this became a general requirement,
Well, according to the newest NFPA standards, and this came to us at the beginning of the week, and we did do research on it quite a bit, there was a question whether 600 feet was still an applicable distance for a fire hydrant to each of the residences. We went through that, and we also went through testing the existing one there, which is part of the NFPA. Because of the width of this being 20 feet, their original read of this was that it was essentially it's synonymous. It's a way or fire lane. And because they consider it a fire lane, the NFPA, if I understand it correctly from reading it and meeting with the fire department, no longer support or allow common driveways. And I said, well, that's interesting, because Littleton and many other cities and towns we work in
virtually
have it. And I understand from their standpoint. So they pointed us to a reference, and the reference, paraphrasing it, is from, it's a fire lane in the city. Jeff, you're probably familiar with it if you're in Harvard Square or any other place. If a lot does not have adequate frontage on a way, and it's less than 20 feet, it requires a fire lane to service the second building. Makes all the sense in the world, because if everybody fills up the parking lot in the front, how do you get to the second building? Makes all the sense in the world. However, the way it's now written, it can extend to individual residential driveways. And they supported this and showed us where in the NFPA standard it had changed. And the NFPA no longer supports common driveways.
If you had provided a new hydrant at the end of the T, would that have changed?
It would have.
Have you done a cost benefit of?
Oh, I don't know that it would have changed. I don't think it would have. We were offered, several means of working around some of their requests and ideas. One of them was to put a cistern in, one of them was to put a hydrant in, one of them was to sprinkle the houses, and the other was to give them the access per the NFPA standard.
Okay. In my experience, the NFPA is trying to push sprinkling all new houses.
I would agree.
And that really bugs me.
Well, it bugs me also in certain circumstances, but in this one, the cost analysis of putting sprinkler system in, a hydrant, a cistern, or putting in permeable pavers, the permeable pavers won out.
Okay.
We've done it before. We've dealt with fire lanes in a lot of different applications. So, the chief and the safety officer were very kind, honestly, to meet with us very quickly, and they were very educational in terms of the information they provided us. I may not agree with it, you may not agree with it, but they did provide it.
I'm just curious about our development standards.
Well, normally we build the road. This is not getting the road built.
But
All right,
if you think about your open space, which we talked about last July, using that as an application here, and we had 5 units, which is what we originally proposed, it would no longer work. Your standards would no longer work with the NFPA decisions. So I think on any open space, Sky Meadow was one, Sky Meadow, is that what it's called? Sky something or other. On Newtown Road, up and back by the...
The big
it's another
hill.
one that would not, I don't believe, meet the new NFPA standard.
Okay, the next waiver is the street cross-section design in accordance with the minimum design requirements. The proposed road is 20 feet wide, doesn't include sidewalks. That's the same?
It is.
It's because it's so small?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the typical cross-section that's from the subdivision regulations, which is kind of pretty hefty. It's a crowned roadway, and then curved on both sides, and then a sidewalk. So that's kind of the requirements of the subdivision, but, this is a pretty small site, so, you know, if you don't feel it's necessary, then, you know, it's not necessary, because it can, right now, what they have right now is it sheet flows off to the side, and it goes into the 2 catch basins, and then, or into the subsurface system, or into the swales, and stuff like that, so that should work. And yeah, so I wasn't sure if you wanted to have a sidewalk on there or not, and if not, then, you know, it might be overkill.
Okay, so since we're not building subdivision roadway, most of these waivers are because we aren't building the subdivision roadway.
Yeah.
Next one is the nearest line of any driveway shall not be 50 feet from the intersection of 2 streets. This intersection proposed road off of Taylor Street is the street driveway serving 96 Taylor Street. Therefore, the driveway at 96 Taylor Street is within 50 feet of the proposed intersection.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be much of an issue. You know, there's not gonna be much traffic coming out of
Three houses
here, so.
Okay. Let me see. The vertical alignment of the intersections approaches shall be designed to, according to table 43 and associated figures below, the minimum length of the approach grade to the street is within design speeds of 50 to 29. The proposed length of the approach grade is 7.3.
So this is basically saying where the road basically meets the intersection, there should be a 20-foot flat section. They only have 7.3, but I don't think that's much of a big deal. It's not like people are going to be driving very fast.
How much of a pitch is it there?
It's pretty flat. I think it's, what is it, like 1%?
It's about 1%.
1 to
Yeah,
2%. So yeah.
And the 20 feet is because of stacking of cars at the intersection, which is unlikely to happen. It's, you know.
Okay. Trees shall be planted on both sides of the street and shall be spaced at intervals of 40 feet on center unless waived by the board. Yeah, we're asking for a waiver.
We met with the tree warden on this waiver and the second and the third one down. And all of them, we're not trying to get out from under placing street trees. It's just the location of the street trees be allowed to be worked with the shade tree committee and the tree warden. So that we're placing them in a place that they don't get damaged in the future.
Yeah.
So you have trees indicated on this plan?
We do.
Okay. And that's the more or less placement that you...
We've met the requirement that's in the subdivision rules and regulations. And we've proposed that we be able to move those where it makes sense so that we don't block fire access or they don't get damaged by snow or any of the others. So we're not trying to get out from underneath the number, it's just location.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what the second one's for.
Right, as far as process goes, it would be helpful if if this moves forward for approval before you, set a deadline for having the approved street tree plan. That way, they get the work done with the shade tree committee out of the way, and we're not waiting for that sometime in the future.
Planting operations and plants receipts shall be shown.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, so to what Maren just said, so would that go into the decision as a condition?
Yeah. And prior to issuance of the first building permit, have the approved?
That's fine.
Okay.
And waiver is requested to allow planting operations to be determined after final grading with input from the shade tree committee. Want to put that in as a condition of approval, too?
I think that all goes together.
Catch basin to manhole system of drainage is required. Catch basins, road shall be graded. The proposed sub-elevation so the runoff drains only to the left side of the proposed road area. Area drains are proposed off the side of the road to collect runoff from the roadway. So there is no real drainage proposed for this. This is all sheet drainage off to the side.
Right, so yeah, it wouldn't make sense for them to do this because they don't have curbs, so.
Is the sheet drainage going to work?
Yeah, it should work.
Okay.
We did add curbs. We had a curb on the
The
fire truck.
Yeah,
Yeah, to
the
direct
one
the water.
area. Yeah, because that one area was directly discharging
Correct.
into the basin
Yep.
without pretreatment, so they have a curb directing it to pretreatment beforehand, so it's only a small area, but the rest is all sheet flowing.
All right, the proposed drain pipes are ADA, you want, this one, we see it all the time.
ADS.
Yeah, ADF, yeah, that's not a problem, right? That's what everyone's using, right?
Yeah, everyone uses it.
Okay, the pipe inlet discharge into the basin shall be above the 25-year storm even event ponding elevation. A minimum 35-foot setback measured from the top of the inner slope to the property line shall be required. Infiltration basins, pipe inlets are below the 25-year storm event ponding elevation. The top of the inlet inside slope of the infiltration basin is proposed 8 feet from the nearest property line. The 100-year storm elevation within the proposed base is 11 feet plus from the nearest lot line.
So it's very difficult to have something discharge into a basin above the 25-year flood line, so it's very typical to discharge under it. So I think what they're doing is acceptable in terms of that. And then the other requirement is 35-foot setback from the next property. So I think that's kind of more of like a factor of safety, like if it fails, it doesn't flood the neighboring property. They are saying that it does hold the 100-year storm, and the calculations look like it's right. Also, the neighboring property is at a higher elevation, so there's less of a concern of it flooding onto the neighbor's property.
On both sides?
The other side's us.
Yeah.
What? No, it's just the drainage is all going this way.
To the street?
No, to the left-hand side.
To where that like turnaround
And there's
is?
actually a grade change of, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah,
on
it's
that property.
pretty large. The neighboring house is on a hill, and it kind of slopes down.
So how far is it actually from the lot line? It's not 35 feet, it's what?
It's like 10 feet, 11 feet, so it is pretty close to the lot line.
We have no berm. Right, and normally when you have a drainage pond, you're elevated and have a berm. We have no berm. So we're actually depressing into the existing soil conditions.
And you think it'll work, it won't flood?
I don't think it's gonna affect the neighboring property, because, basically their roadway's coming like this, their basin's here, and then the neighboring property is up like this. So it's gonna just flood along there.
So it'll even contain the 100-year storm?
Yeah, based off the calcs, it should hold the 100-year storm.
Okay.
That's probably
As long as
like-
it's maintained properly, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, sorry.
Yeah, as long as it's maintained properly, it should, based off the calculations.
What were you gonna say, Anna?
The math is amazing. Just looking at everything, looking at the amount of water, and, one of the criteria on this is determination that the development at this location does not entail unwarranted hazard to safety or health of future residents. And that's part of what I worry about, right? Is that, whoever is going to be living here is going to be able to maintain it all and be able to handle it. And what I hear you saying is that the math works and it should all be fine.
Yeah. And, there should be an O&M and, be able to maintain everything, so. And that's gonna be through the HOA, right?
Yeah, there's an O&M that's provided with the proper easements for maintenance and upkeep.
So do residents generally hire somebody to kind of take care of that for them, or do they actually do it
Sometimes.
themselves?
It depends on the complexity of the drain system. We've had, if you have higher perk rates, you have much larger stormwater requirement, holding them. And you have stormwater requirements coming off of the roof drains and stuff. So the roof drain's pretty simple. It's like a dry well in the old days. It's just a lot more technology in it today. But these basins, again, based upon the perk rate and maintenance, which they brought forward, they're grassed. And as long as they maintain them and they clean them, the O&M usually requires after every major storm. You don't want to have any trees and, leaves and build up in there. So normally most of it's relegated to a landscape person, but there is requirements for the homeowners to maintain it on a regular basis as well.
They're gonna be on their property, so it's gonna be in the homeowner's property.
It is, every one of them is. Yeah.
And last but not least, the waiver is requested for written certification of approval of the design by all utilities which are provide service within the subdivision.
So that's one that current workflow, the utility companies don't provide any back notice.
But I'm assuming everything's going right down the middle of the shared driveway, and then...
It's actually off. Yeah, we met with both Littleton Light, the water district wanted the services pulled out of the right-of-way, which is on this new plan that I provided you. So every one of the meetings that we had with each of the departments and all of the requests that they made are on the newest plan.
And you're not bringing gas under the site?
No, we're not bringing gas. Gas is a no-no in Littleton now.
Good. Do we have any questions or concerns about the waivers that they're asking for?
So,
There's a lot of them.
right in the water,
Because you're waiving the road.
talk to you and confirm that they are. They're all put it in writing?
Yeah, they're...
No, they all are. They all are.
They all are, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't really need the variance?
How did you leave it?
So with the light department,
department,
they do their designs after we start breaking ground. So I already gave them a preliminary. It shows basically that there's going to be a telephone pole that's going to be brought onto the property on the left-hand side of the road. And then we're going to go diagonally across, so to avoid being in the center of the road, we're going to streak up the right-hand side. And we're going to bring it to a transformer that sits between lots 2 and 3, which I believe this plan should show. It's kind of hard to see. My eyes just don't go.
It is on here.
So there's a transformer, so that was what they discussed. They're gonna take it, the light department's gonna add it into their CAD, and once they confirm that we are building the road, they already have it in their CAD, they're gonna come out and just approve everything that's on the site. I met with the gentleman at the water department. There's 3 1-inch services going in here, because we're only doing 3 homes, so it didn't, and their runs aren't very long. We were gonna put the curb stops in the middle of the road. Basically, those are the water shutoffs, the Erie boxes that come up and you turn the water on them. They had asked us to pull it out of the right of way, because that's where their commitment basically ends, and then everything after that turns private. So it's gonna be about 5 feet beyond where the existing sidewalk is.
Okay.
And that's where their Erie boxes, the black boxes that sit up on top of the ground, and that's where their commitment ends, and then each water line will run to each individual home, so then that becomes private property. What am I missing?
You didn't.
Okay.
Did you do, I asked if you could put the odd-shaped lot formula in lot 2, is that on there?
I'm going down.
Yes, they put the...
Odd-shaped lot formula?
Correct, they changed, Mark, they changed the...
Lot 3.
They changed lot 3 for the nitrogen loading, and when they did that, they put the shape factor on the lot. They just omitted it the first time.
What is it anyway?
0.46. I think it was 0.46. Do you remember the shape factor?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's not on our master set.
It's on this.
I might have it on the truck if you want me to go grab it.
Okay, as long as you have it.
We do.
Anything else? Any other questions? You want to handle this one with Lisa being her last meeting as well? Or do you-
Okay, so then there was one more application.
Oh, yeah, the shade tree.
Yeah, the public street trees.
Mhm.
There are, three
crab apples.
3 public street trees, and Taylor Street is designated a scenic roadway. We got the application not in time to advertise for tonight, but now that you have the meeting, the June meeting set, we could advertise for that date.
For that, just that?
Just the
that.
scenic road. So, and at that point, you could either continue this hearing to coincide with that one, if you wanted to go that route.
What do you want to,
I I think the same thing that 550 King, situation that we responded to at 550 King applies here. We've gone through many meetings, we have detailed answers for all our questions. I think we could close the hearing.
Voted, subject to conditions of approval and approval of the shade trees.
Yeah.
Are you all right with that too?
No.
Are you? This will be the last thing you ever get to vote on. All right. You're not, and I can see the face.
Well, we're going to be talking, again, I had an opportunity to go through all this stuff, right? Didn't have a chance to look at the last one, but with that said, yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to say thank you for agreeing.
Yes, thank you for coming down.
It's always helpful
It made it a lot easier for us to get through. All right, so then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing subject for the subdivision, not for the, we haven't even opened it for the shade tree. Okay.
I so move.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye.
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 Okay. All right, so we're gonna,
So draft a detailed decision with conditions as discussed, and we'll be able to present those well in time for your next meeting.
so then I'll make a motion that we approve the subdivision, subject to conditions of approval being agreed upon by the board.
Right, and as a definitive subdivision with no special permits, technically it's
Three
3 out
votes.
of 5, so there's no question about being able to accomplish that.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve it, subject to the conditions being done at a later date.
I so move.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do you have to vote the waivers, or is that part of the approval?
We're going to include the waivers in the
final decision.
in the final decision.
But I didn't hear any.
No, I didn't hear anybody
you.
anybody
No.
anybody opposed
I'll
to
still
it.
be in
So
town.
we'll just put the waivers in the final decision. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you again.
Any public comment?
All the people who are sitting.
Okay, I think that's about it, right? Do we have anything else?
I think that's it. It says adjourn on our,
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you for your 5 years of service, Delisa. It's been a
Thank you, Mark.
pleasure
It's been a pleasure serving
to
you.
have you here. We wish you all the best of luck.
I'm not dying.
No,
I'm going to see you on Tuesday.
I know, but this is your last meeting, and, we have to,
Thank
say
you.
something,
I appreciate that. It's been an honor to serve the residents of Littleton.
You can come and visit us.
Yes. Yeah, you never know. I may be out there in the cheering you on.
are you going to be heckling us?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. That's it. Cooper, with the switch.
Thank you very much.
All right, so.
Thank you, Dylan.